Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. Glen and I are going to tell you about some of the interesting games we've been playing recently.
Yep, we've got 3 games each to talk about. Games that could be old, could be new. You'll find out in a minute, I'm sure. Just games that we've been playing that, yeah, as Mark said, we want to say something about.
To build up your hype, I think I managed to find one of Glen's worst games of all time, so there's that.
It's pretty shocking, to be fair, yeah.
So what are the interesting games we've been playing? Well, let's find out.
You might remember from a few weeks back when we spoke about Outtro on the Nintendo Switch, and this episode is actually sponsored by Red Deer and their new release, Outtro Virtual Pet. This is a wild animal care simulator that will very much remind you of the classic Tamagotchi toys, where you would have taken care of virtual pets. It's actually already out. It came out on August the 25th, and it's only a very small download size. It features multiple different wild animals that you can choose from, such as lions, pandas, elephants, penguins, and a few more. You have to feed them, clean them, and generally try and look after them. If you didn't have a Tamagotchi when you were a kid, what were you doing? But now is your chance to relive the glory. It includes WildClass's real-time gameplay, where the pet will grow and change in appearance, depending on the types of actions you choose, but it can also become sad or sick if you neglect it for too long. It does currently have a sale, and if you're after something to just chill with, a very nice little loading game to pick up and play. Thanks to Red Deer for sponsoring this episode.
Alright, let's start off then with one that we all know, all of us hopefully. I've been playing through the Undead Nightmares in Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you saying that, I don't know if you had played it back in the day or if you hadn't.
Yes, I played the base game,
Yeah.
and I played this Undead Nightmares back in the day.
I was quite surprised because I remember not playing it because I thought it was going to be too tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was going to be like ridiculous, and you know, there is a little bit of that, but actually, you know, especially the way it starts, no spoilers.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, okay, this is decent, this is all right.
Oh, I remember buying it back then because it actually had a physical release.
Yeah.
This standalone.
Yes, it did, yeah.
So I remember seeing it on the store shelf, and obviously having played the original game by then, and thinking, oh, you know, it must be pretty meaty to have an actual release. So I bought it, and yes, it's really good.
It is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way it still tells the story with the same characters if you've not played it, which I wasn't quite sure. It's John Marston, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the main guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously he's trying to figure out what's going on. It's pretty brutal, and I guess a lot of, and this is where your forte comes in, I guess a lot of like zombie films, they do use a bit of humour, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Why do they do that? Why is that like a thing?
I mean, sometimes it depends. Obviously, you have comedy horrors
Yeah.
where they go really, you know, balls to the wall and just make it ridiculous. Other times, it's kind of to show the ridiculousness of the situation, but at the same time, it's deadly serious. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
And you also have the mirroring of what people do in their everyday life as zombies. You know, like Dawn of the Dead, for example, with the shopping centre, the shopping mall, and you had the zombies kind of milling about, looking like general consumers, almost, you know, hinting that people are like zombies when they're in the shopping centre. Do you know what I mean?
So it's telling like there's a bigger kind of narrative.
Sometimes there's like that hidden meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Other times it is just to kind of show how ludicrous the situation is, yet whilst being terrifying, you know?
Yeah, so I think it captures that really well. You know, that kind of, I don't even know what you'd call that from films. That kind of
it's a little bit of satire, isn't it?
Satire, yeah, from films, while still using the same controls. There's a lot of nice touches though. Like you can do melee attacks when they're up close to you. So if they get too close, you can like absolutely obliterate their brains. And I think Red Dead in general has just held up so well.
Yes.
You know, because I played 2. I don't know if you played the second one.
No, I haven't played the second one. Only the first one.
We've got to get you on that somehow. You've got a PlayStation 4, haven't you?
Yeah, it's on the 4, isn't it? It's on
pretty
PS4.
sure it is on
it is.
PS4,
I'm sure it is.
yeah.
Thing is with my PS4 is that the whole reason the Switch was a godsend is because I can't sit in front of the telly and play those sort of long games unless it's something the wife wants to play too, and Red Dead just isn't one of those games, you know, so it's just difficult. But yeah, I'm sure it's something at some point I can have a go on, you know.
But I would say for those people that played maybe just the first game, I do think it's worth picking up this pack, maybe reduced obviously because you've already played the first one.
Yeah.
For this, like you say, it's meaty enough that it's like, oh okay, that's actually a whole standalone game. I'm enjoying that.
I'm surprised they didn't release it separately, actually, as an option, you know. We've seen that with a few other games thus far on the Switch, that they've released both as a bundle or obviously the components separately, and this would make sense, surely,
Would have
wouldn't
made
it?
sense, wouldn't it? Yeah. So that's my first one, really. Yeah. Undead Nightmares from the Red Dead Redemption release.
Yeah, nice to know it holds up.
Yeah, it's good.
Right, my first one then is Taito Milestones 2.
Oh yeah, from PR Hound sent it over, didn't they?
Yeah, it's in games, isn't it? Sent it over, as you say. And this is it's 10 games from Taito's arcade history. The first one is on the Switch 2.
Yeah.
I played the first one. I'm going to be honest, I didn't think it was great. Now, that's not anything. It's just as much as I love the arcades, the selection of games was from way early on in Taito's library, talking early 80s, and I just didn't think enough of the games held up. You know, it had elevator action, which was good still, and that's a good game. It is good. It's good, honestly. And what's the other one? Ninja Warriors, which is okay, but I prefer the Super Nintendo port, which has since had its own remake.
Yeah.
So again, it's hard to just even go back and play that now because of that reason, you know.
What can I just ask before you go any further?
Yeah.
Elevator action. Yeah. What do you do in that?
It's about, you kind of have to go between the floors using the elevators. It's like almost like a manic puzzle game. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then you had Elevator Action Returns, which was obviously the sequel, but it was a lot better. It was really improved on the formula. So in this one, you have games such as New Zealand Story, which you like.
Yes.
It's a game you like. What else do you have? Darius 2, good game.
Nice. That's a shooter, isn't it?
That is a shoot 'em up. Yep. You have things such as Kiki Kai Kai, which is the first of the Pocky and Rocky games.
Little side scrollers, platforms.
Like not platformer. It's like a shoot 'em up, like a top-down shoot 'em up.
Oh, okay.
But you play as people rather than like a ship, you know.
Yes, I think you've shown me one of these before.
Yeah, one of them was remastered for the Switch.
Yes.
So some decent games, to be fair, on this one. Now, I've played a couple of games that I hadn't played, just to, for the sake of variety. One of them, the name escapes me, I'm going to be honest, but it was a fighting game, like a one-on-one fighter where you play as dinosaurs.
Right, yeah.
Which was okay. It wasn't too bad. Think of like Primal Rage.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Not as good as that, but it wasn't too bad. And the other one was called, was it Black Metal, I think it was called, which was another shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
It was horizontal. And what I liked about this one, again, you've got things like Darius on there. I just wanted to try this one out. What I liked about this one was that you generally in these shoot 'em ups, you have power-ups that you collect, don't you? They either level up the charge of your shot or the power of your shot, or they change your weapon type.
Yeah.
And this one doesn't do that. You don't have power-ups exactly. What happens is the enemies release molecules, and you can collect those molecules, and it strengthens your charge of your shot. And then you can, if you want, when you reach a certain level of charge, you can then unleash that as a huge beam to take on all the enemies.
Yeah.
So it's that risk reward of, do I let go of, because obviously then your beam goes down to a lower level. Do I clear the screen, or do I keep the stronger weapon? And I thought that was quite
What
clever.
did you do?
Bit of both.
Bit of both.
Generally kept it for the boss.
That sounds like you.
Yeah.
I would have used it.
I know you would.
Continuously.
We just had this on another game. This exact conversation. Probably can't mention the game because embargoes and whatnot. But yeah, we had that exact.
So like in a game, right? Let's have a discussion with the audience.
Okay.
When you have collectible, but what are they called? So you've got multiple weapons and things like that.
Yeah.
And you got your one that's got your infinite ammo, and then you got your other ones. I like to use the ammo from the other ones because they're there.
Yeah.
Glenn likes to save it all.
Save it for a rainy day.
And usually that rainy day never comes.
Well, yeah, true, but then you finish the game without needing them, so there's no bother, is there? And I think the reason I do it, goes all the way back to Resident Evil, where you used to find the Magnum and you'd save it for the last boss.
Is that the Magnum when we played the playthrough recently? I fired all the
used
shots
it straight away.
I
was like, what's that gun you've got? Are you using a bloody Magnum on level 3? Are you for real? What are you doing?
That's not even an enemy.
Yeah, he's shooting the wall with the Magnum.
Yeah. I mean, because do you know what? The flip side of that for me is like the Fallout series. Let's say Skyrim, because it's on Switch. You collect everything in the game. I would just hoard everything completely pointlessly. You're lugging around this huge sack full of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the flip, and all the consumables in there I didn't use. Like I'd have potions and all sorts, and I'd never use them.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And to be fair, the flip side of me feeling like it's the right thing to do is I do exactly that. Yeah. And I finish the game like, man, if I'd have just used these permanent upgrades, it'd have been so much easier.
It would have been easier.
But I was in a quandary as to what to use them for or what to put skill points into, So I do get that. But when it comes to things like bullets, no, I do like to save them, I must say.
I played the New Zealand Story on that collection.
You did, yeah?
Yeah, I was playing it just because I loved that game as a kid. I'm pretty sure it was either the Spectrum or the Amiga that we had it on. I can't remember which one, but it's still good.
Yeah.
It's still good. And you know, that soundtrack is just, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I would say this collection, I prefer this one over the first one, very much so. I think there's about, obviously give or take, about 8 years difference in between the range of years in the first game and obviously obviously this later, this second one.
Okay.
And I just think 8 years in the arcades is such a long time in terms of what the games can do and what they are. That I would recommend this second one. I had fun with this one. The first one, again, like I say, obviously I'm of that exact age where it should be for me. Even for me, it's just they just haven't aged well enough, you know.
Yeah. And I think one of the games we're going to talk about kind of will reflect games or styles that don't age very well at all.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
For sure.
So the next one we're going to talk about then, on that note, is a lovely little beat 'em up, and I can't remember its name because it's so bad. It's called Champion of Fighters.
Yep.
And this popped up on my eShop a couple of days ago, and I thought, oh, this will be a good one, because, you know, Glen likes his beat 'em ups, and I don't mind them. It'll be a good one for us to talk about and have a little go of. It's absolutely crap.
Oh, it's terrible. It's a fighter, it's like a one-on-one fighter as opposed to a beat 'em up, you know, like a side-scrolling beat 'em up. But it's so bad. I mean, you know, Mark kind of pre-warned me, you know, this is a bad game. Yeah. It's not like he just loaded it up and I expected something decent, but even with that forewarning, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
When you load it up, it does it in such a way that you have a choice of 2 characters, so you don't have like a roster of fighters. You choose between the 2, and the one that you don't choose is your opponent, and then you obviously move on, and then you don't keep that same fighter. You have another 2, same again. So in a weird way,
quite a nice idea.
I quite like that. You know, that variety of forcing you to choose new characters. It's just the implementation is terrible. But I mean, the first thing you'll see is how blurry the characters look.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's terrible. They look like JPEGs.
And I'm pretty sure they are JPEGs.
Yeah.
When you get in the game, they've got about 3 animations each, usually involving limbs that stretch beyond what they should. And it's not like a One Piece tribute. Like, it's just shockingly bad, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's done because they needed to stretch the animation. It's not like Dowsim,
No.
you know, where that was his whole thing. It's so bad.
You can imagine the little animator going to his boss and be like, look, it doesn't look right. And he's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Put it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Package it up, 99p, reduced from £999. Mark's going to buy that, and he did.
But it is exactly that. It's like the characters don't touch when they hit. What can we do about it? Should we go back to square one? No, just make their arms a bit longer. You know? But that would look ridiculous, doesn't it?
How about those special effects? You like those?
Yeah. Oh man, they were special, weren't they? It's like someone's wrapped Christmas tree lights around their arms. And then blown the fuse, and it just goes, and it's done, you know?
It's just, I mean, look, you can see it on the screen. It's absolute pony. But there's a bigger issue on the eShop, isn't there? And I was saying to Glen, like, the eShop, when you update a game, it takes a long time, because supposedly Nintendo spend a lot of time verifying patches. I don't understand why they don't spend a lot of time, or any time, verifying games.
There has to. We talk about it a lot, and, you know, like the seal of quality now. It's not just Nintendo, it's every console.
Yeah.
But there are certain occasions, sometimes games are bad, you know, games have always been bad. Again, people of our sort of age, it's very easy to look back with rose-tinted glasses on and pretend everything was great. It wasn't. There were terrible games back then. There was no internet to warn you, no star ratings, nothing. You bought a game for a lot of money. We're not talking about 99p on sale on the eShop. We're talking about 40, 50 quid's worth, and it was terrible. So it's always been a problem. But it just, you know, from an idealistic point of view for a minute, there has to be just a level of pride in terms of what you as Nintendo or Sony, whoever you are, what you want representing your console. It doesn't matter if it's not your game, it's your console. Do you know what I mean?
I really do. Yeah, and I do think there is a solution. I do. Steam have got it so that you can leave reviews. Yeah. So the cream does rise to the top unless there's a review bomb situation.
Yeah.
But why not make it so that you have to have played for a certain amount of time before you can review a game?
Yeah.
You know, so you can't leave a review before, let's say, I don't know, like an hour and a half, 2 hours or something. You know, then you can leave a review and that will affect its ranking.
Yeah.
I know Nintendo don't like to do that because they want their stuff to be at the top of the eShop all the time, so they make sure officially that it is, blatantly do. But you could have a separate section for user scored games. The top 100 user games on Twitch. Yes, please.
Yeah, it's exactly. And they could be verified reviews.
Yeah.
In some way, shape or form. I don't know how that would work where it still felt transparent, but it could happen. You know, as you mentioned, review bombs. Let's be honest. If you go on Metacritic and you read a few of those, it's very obvious to know which ones are.
Exactly.
There's some sort of agenda behind, whatever that may be. I'm sure it could be done. But this game is. I mean, honestly, I came round to Mark's house to record this, and he went to make a cup of tea, and I beat 3 characters. I got through 3 rounds, holding the Joy-Con in my hand, pressing A repeatedly whilst reading BBC Sport on my phone. I didn't even look at the screen. It's just so bad.
Yeah. So there's that one. Another of those to avoid from, I think it's one of the same kind of publishers that does a lot of crap games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't see that until after the fact. But maybe not unfortunately, because now they're going to be on this video.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, it's your money, do what you want with it. But, you know, generally, you'll see a bunch of comments down below after this saying, I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, you will.
I mean, all right, yeah, I know, it's funny, but these people get paid for doing terrible work when you do that. Just, it's up to you. But if we want it to change,
yeah, don't do it.
You know what I mean? All right, my next one is going to be a fighting game, actually.
Nice. Is it better than that one?
It's really good.
Okay.
And I was so pleasantly surprised. It's called Mech Fight. Mech Fight, and it is a game on the Nintendo Switch Online for the NES, for the original Nintendo, and it was released recently. And it never, as far as I know, I'm not going to pretend I know all about this game because I don't. Yeah. But it never released over here. Right. I don't think it released in the West at all. It was in Japan, and I don't think it's ever released in any way, shape, or form since. So it's been on virtual consoles, but again, I think that's just on the Japanese stores.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a one-on-one fighter, and it revolves around you having a mech, as you would expect. But what's clever is that they haven't animated the limbs. So you have the mech body, and you have the feet and the hands. And because of that, the animation is so smooth.
Right.
Bearing in mind, this is an 8-bit console.
Yeah.
There's no flicker. There's very little, if any, slowdown that I noticed. Like, such a clever way to do what is notoriously difficult on that hardware, you know?
So hang on, the hands and feet kind of float, do they?
Yeah. There's just no limbs, you know? Or they might have like balls that kind of make or give the impression of limbs. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the point is that because of that, it runs so smoothly.
Nice.
It could have been, I mean, obviously in terms of looks, it obviously looks like an 8-bit game, but in terms of animation and how smooth it is, gameplay, obviously, it could have been a 16-bit game.
Yeah.
You know?
Isn't it amazing what they can do on that hardware compared to, you know, what we've seen with the last game?
And that wasn't planned. I obviously planned to talk about this before I even turned up this morning. Yeah. But it's quite a stark difference.
Isn't it just?
Between the two. And also, what happens is, again, similar in that you don't have a roster of characters exactly, but what does happen is you fight a character, you defeat him, and then you get to play as him if you want next. Right. So your roster is added to as you go along. Right. Which, again, is just a nice little way to change it up a little bit. And I'm always intrigued by fighting games on the NES because there were barely any on the system. I can only think of this one, obviously. Turtles Tournament Fighters was on the NES. I think there's one more that's quite obvious that I'm missing at the minute. There aren't many others. No. And you think about the time the NES was about, you think about what was popular in the arcades. Obviously translating that to an NES was difficult, but home computers tried it. They failed, but they tried it. And it always intrigued me that there weren't more attempts on the NES.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I don't think I had any beat 'em ups on the NES at all. I don't think I had any until we had the Mega Drive in our house.
Yeah, I mean, Street Fighter 2 obviously released and was a huge success. Now, I think that released 91, maybe 1990, I can't quite remember. By then, the Super Nintendo was out. Yeah. And obviously that got a port of Street Fighter, and it was fantastic, and that really helped Nintendo, boost their new console. But things like the original Street Fighter, which wasn't as popular, people almost forget it existed. But I'm surprised it didn't get an NES port, nonetheless, you know? Yeah. So it always fascinated me why that genre seemed to miss the NES.
I've just had an idea, right? Completely unrelated. Well, it's not, because you're talking about the NES.
Okay.
Do you know what? I remember walking into my brother's room and finding the NES actually not being used for once. Yeah. And the way the controllers feel, the smell of it, all of that stuff. What if, right, you had this like, like adults go on these like these crime solving things. What if you went to a place and you could be a kid again? Yeah. Like you walked through the doors and it was like an 80s house. Yeah. And there was like your 80s cereal, there was like the bedroom, like you went and played a game. Yeah. I'd really like that.
Amazing. Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, because as much as you can play it as an adult, it's not the same.
It's not the same. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, I was sorry. I was just going to say. I remember as well silly things like because the leads for the consoles weren't as long. Generally, you had to sit quite close to the telly, or you just did naturally. Obviously now you have wireless controllers, which is much more convenient. But again, just sitting kind of on your knees in front of the telly.
And when you had your mate there, you sat side by side, didn't you?
And you see pictures of that now with the bowl haircuts, and like got a big peanut on your head, and it just makes you feel nostalgic, doesn't it?
It really does.
The old CRT TVs, and
I think there's a gap in the market there, mate.
Yeah.
Man. Forget escape rooms, nostalgia rooms.
Yeah.
Keep your ear to the ground. This might be happening.
Right. Exactly right. So what's that? That's 2 for 2 in it. So
That's
one more
2
from
All
you.
right, so my last one then, and it's much better than the other ones we've talked about. It's called Chants of Sennaar. Chants of the Sennaar, something like that.
Chants of Sennaar, is it? I think
That one.
Yeah.
that one. the yellow and orange game, as I described it.
Yeah, I know nothing of this one other than I put it in the upcoming.
Yes.
So that's all I know of
This
it.
is how I heard about it, and then I actually went back to see if we had a code. We got 3 codes. I was like, yes, thanks very much. They had a little go of it. Really, really good. So it's a small indie team. So you start as like I don't know what you are. You look like a kind of almost like a nun, in this strange culture that you're not sure of. But what's very, very cool and so clever is you're solving glyphs.
Right, yep.
So you'll see something in the world. So you see the first thing you see in the world is a lever.
Yeah.
And next to it, it's got 2 symbols. Two glyphs, is that what they're called, glyphs?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can, at any point, say, go to the text bit and say, oh, well, I think this means that.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I think this means that.
Yeah.
And what you do by solving puzzles and there's other characters in the game and stuff, you gradually learn the language.
Right, yeah. I remember the blurb now, and it's about 2 groups of people that don't talk or
Yes.
something, and you have
Yeah,
to try and, as you say, work out what their language means. Yeah, and I was quite intrigued as to how that would translate into a game.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So you learn the open and close right at the start.
Yeah.
I actually got them the wrong way round.
Right.
And then the next puzzle, there's all these water things dripping down, and you're obviously opening and close. It gives you on the wall, there's a glyph next to it. It's like open, close, or whatever. You do that, but then you realise you've got it wrong, so you flip them round, and then it solves the puzzle.
Yeah.
And then every now and then it gives you a page of a book, which is obviously, it's like her scribbles of drawings of things she's seen, and then you can place those glyphs, and if you get them right, it then unlocks those permanently as language.
Right, okay, yeah.
It just works.
Just works, yeah.
And the soundtrack, it's got that really atmospheric, where you go from one and it's you can just hear the sound of the wind through the corridors. It gives it real sense of presence. Then you move to the other and it's the water, and it just does that really minimalistic, but excellent, really nice, smooth performance. I love that art style.
Yeah, again, I'm only looking at screenshots, but lovely use of colour, I should say, sorry, and light and shadow by the looks of it as well. Just different, isn't it? Just different.
It is, and we see a lot of indie developers attempt what first-party developers do. Games like this and Return from the Obra Dinn. I don't know if you've played that one yet.
Yeah, I can see it. Yep.
They do things so differently, and it sometimes it really pays off. And for me, this is one. I should imagine. I haven't checked, but I reckon this probably received quite good review scores.
It's nice that you've picked this one actually, because as I said, I mentioned in the upcoming, it'll be interesting to see how it works, and then obviously, unless we review a game, that's the last word ever said about it, and it on this channel obviously. So it's nice that you give a bit of context and confirm that it does work. Yeah,
it's one that I'll be working through to see kind of where that goes. It's really cool. There's this card game early on, and you're playing a game, but you don't know the rules.
Right.
So you're playing against someone and you're winning, and you use that to figure out what these cards mean.
Nice.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's clever. That's clever. Lovely. Well, my last one is one that we've spoken about before. It's one I picked up again recently, and that's DREDGE.
DREDGE, good game, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've had a want to play it for a while, but it's just been so busy and what have you. I was playing Danganronpa, and I wanted to get that finished, which I have now done. So I returned to it, and it's just such a clever game. The way it works, that kind of cycle of having to go out, catch fish, come back, improve your ship, upgrade the hull, go back out again. All the while, obviously, there's these unseen terrors in the sea. Yeah, very clever concept and very well executed,
Is there going to be any DLC for this, do you know? Because it's been really popular.
Yeah, not that I've heard of. I don't know how I suppose they could do it. It could just a side story or something like that.
It's a different place.
Different place they could do, absolutely right, yeah. I mean, I've started to move across the map and start to unlock new parts. It's quite a difficult game. It's quite tough because at times you'll make your way across, quite a distance of the ocean. Find you haven't got what you need. Find there's nowhere to stay for the night, and you're a bit buggered. Do you know what I mean? And obviously that's the point. But it's tough when that happens because you're completely at the mercy of the sea, and sometimes you'll strike it lucky, and you'll kind of be left alone, and you can just stay there till morning. Other times you just get wrecked.
So you can't actually change your ship, can you? What is it? It's ship? It's ship, isn't it?
It's
your
a boat, isn't it? Yeah,
your boat.
It's not big enough to be a ship.
You can't change your boat. You can just customize it. Can you change its speed and stuff like that?
So you unlock things that will allow you to go faster.
Right.
But you obviously, so you put research points into things,
okay.
such as new fishing rods, new types of rods, new nets, new engines, better lights, and obviously then you can once you've researched them, you can buy them and upgrade the ship. But you've only got a set amount of space. It's like a grid. Your ship is like a bird's eye view of it.
Okay.
And it's a grid.
Yeah.
And obviously every fish you catch has to fit into that grid. Every time you salvage or dredge from the ocean, anything you get out has to go into that grid.
Okay.
So the more you add on to it in terms of engines or bigger lights, take up space within that grid.
That makes sense.
The way to counterbalance that is you obviously expand your hull, but that means need to do more research, needing to find new materials, and it's just that cycle, you know?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, the further you get into it and the more you have to start exploring, you really do start to feel at the mercy of the sea. Not even necessarily what possibly lies beneath, just the sea in general. And I really can't help but applaud how well they've pulled that off.
Yeah, I think, again, we're talking about the indie developers doing things a bit differently, and it really pays off sometimes.
It does.
This is one of them, isn't it?
It is. It's not for everyone though. I have to say that, because the grind of having to, the rinse repeat of having to go out and catch the fish and whatnot, to get to a point where you feel that you're strong enough to start to really set sail and go to these far off places does take a while. I mean, you can chance your luck, but I don't think you get very far, you know. And it's that grind for some people will be too much, I think. But I think if you're of that mindset, you feel rewarded for that hard work when you then start going off and exploring, you know?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, really good. I'd tell you one that I would really like to talk about in the future. Spiritfarer. I think I want to put a bit of time into that. I'm going to play co-op with Bella. Yeah. And then maybe we can chat about that one next time.
Yeah, I've played a couple of hours of it a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's not fresh enough in my mind that I could give any insight now, but what I can remember is it's a good game. It's a very good game, you know? Well worth playing. Yeah,
for sure. And in the comments, if there's any that you think like you'd like to hear chatted about, because for me, I don't really mind what I play. You know, I quite like playing random games. You know, if I see some down there in the comments, I'll check them out.
Yeah, nice, lovely. Okay, and at the same time, do let us know of any games that you've yourself played and what you thought of them. Are they worth playing? That'd be good to know.
As always, for this month, we've got our 10% saving on your eShop credit. You can use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg. You get 5% off and 5% back in coins, Glenn.
You do indeed. Quick thank you to our patrons, of course, for your continued support, and to our channel members, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos.
Nice one. Thanks very much. Oh, there you go. I get to say the line.
You do.
Better put your fingers in your ears.
They're in.
For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch Up. Cheers, guys. See ya!